Should I tell you this story? I guess I should. Okay. We are back. Ding! This is not an endorsement of this particular kind of beer, by the way. Except it's pretty darn good. Latitude 33 Blood Orange IPA from Trader Joe's. We're back to continue my story that I started a while back. I don't even know what episode this is. I think this is episode 4, right? This is for the diehards. This is the story of how I left Alaska and moved to Los Angeles to pursue a career in film and television. I'm going to pick up where I left off, which was kind of halfway through my first year in LA. This is going to take us all the way to the end of the first year, and then immediately after it, I'm going to just keep on recording, and I'm going to record the next episode, which is my second year in LA, which starts off with me working on a $115 million epic war film. Yes. So we're going to get into that in the next episode, but I'm going to tell you the strange and unusual course of events that led me to that, and which really led me to where I am today, honestly. I look back now and like all that stuff led to where I am now, and it's wild to think about. Hang on, I just got a text. Let's get into it. I'll try and keep the slurping down, and I'm probably just going to leave this one raw and uncut from here on out. And yeah, it's for the diehards. I got to put this down because I have photos to show you. Check this out. We talked about in the last one, me getting a job at the House of Blues and kind of working as a doorman in the VIP room and all the stuff that happened there. And I'm going to take you back to that a little bit because there was one event that happened towards the end of my tenure at the House of Blues that really impacted me. And I'm going to tell that story as briefly as possible. I'm not going to tell it in super detail because I'm saving that for the book that I make someday. But in addition to working at the House of Blues, I also worked part-time on the weekends at this outside climbing wall that was right in West Hollywood, right on the border of West Hollywood and Beverly Hills. And I mentioned this in the last video, but the people that came and climbed there, most of them worked in film and television. One guy, Edmund, still a dear friend of mine, really, we ended up working together later on. He was a screenwriter, kind of closing out on that career and moving into the next chapter of his life. And him and I started doing video projects together. I'm going to show you Edmund in a minute. I got a picture of him. I got an itch in my nose. What the heck? Something keeps itching my nose. Okay. In addition to that, there was this other guy, Chuck, who I became really good friends with. Now, Chuck was a homie. I think about Chuck all the time. I should call him. I haven't talked to him in years. I wonder if his number still works. I'm going to call Chuck. I'm going to call Chuck Monday. Interesting. Yeah, I should do that. Here's Chuck. Oh, geez, I hope he's in here. Oh, dude, he's not in here. Well, he's the one that took these pictures. Chuck took these pictures. Look, here's me. Here's me. Boop. Yeah, I was like a funny looking bald guy back then too, although I'm like, 20, how old was I? 26 years old. Dude, that's crazy. Half my life ago. So Chuck was maybe 10 years older than me, around that. And he was, Chuck was a really good climber. He was a better climber than me, although I could lead harder than him because I was a little bolder, I think, just younger and dumber. Really, no, but excuse me. So we would go climbing a lot. This picture I just showed you was taken at Mount Williamson, which is like up in the, up the Angeles Crest Highway. And Mount Williamson will play in the next episode as well. It was a fateful location. It's closed to climbing now. But we'd go up there in the weekend. We'd go to Malibu Creek State Park. We would go occasionally out to Tahquitte's Suicide Rock, which is up in Idlewild, one of my favorite places. There was a cast of characters. There was this guy, Barry, that would climb with us sometimes. He was like a commercial producer. This other guy, Mark Nelson, he's in here. And he was like a musician. And he introduced me to my friend, Mark McBride, who has actually been on the channel, who's one of my best friends over all these years, who was a former professional yo-yoer. He had a bunch of video gear, and him and I started making short films together. So these are the people that like were my homies back in the day when I moved here. Now Chuck, who took these pictures, I should just show them to you. There's me, here's me rappelling. Chuck was an armorer, meaning he did weapons and like live fire, blank firing weapons on movie sets. And so he worked for a prop house and he worked in their weapons department. They had the largest supply of movie guns in the world. And he would often go on set and help actors with their weapons and make sure everybody stayed safe. It's a job. It's a job. So, but that's what he did. And so I would hear all of Chuck's stories from all these movies he worked on. Like the very first movie he worked on was, I think, Predator. He'd been on, like, worked on really big movies. We ended up actually working together 2 or 3 years later. I don't even know if I'm going to get to that in this series, but we worked on the Hulk, which the Ang Lee's Hulk. I worked on that movie for a couple months, and Chuck was the armorer on that movie, and we had some gun battles with the Hulk. So it was really cool down the road that him and I got to work together. I was in front of the camera. I did stunts in that movie, and then I was like a high-paid extra with some guns and stuff, and was doing like tactical stuff and playing army people. Or playing a Marine. I played a Marine. You can see me in that movie. Oh man, I wish. Now this isn't about the Hulk. Anyways, you can see me in the Hulk if you know where to look. Like people occasionally will call me up, dude, were you in the Hulk? Yeah, I was in the Hulk. You can see me and Nick Nolte. So it was cool to work on that with Chuck later. But yeah, Chuck and I were homies. We would go climbing all the time. And then the first summer also, Edmund, the guy I told you about, the screenwriter, he had a friend who was kind of a high roller dude. Well, they were both climbers. They're both, they're both like a couple generations older than me, right? But I was young. I was a trad climber. They wanted to climb Mount Whitney, and they wanted to climb like the front of it up a technical route. So I went with them. We hiked up, camped out, climbed up the whole front of Mount Whitney in a day. This is us on the summit. As the sun is going down, I led the whole thing. It was like 13 pitches, like not super hard climbing, 5'7", 5'8", if you know anything about rock climbing, but I did have to lead the whole thing, so it was committing. Like I had to do it. I had to go up first, and they followed up and went down. We camped out. That was a really great experience. I don't think I have the skills. I mean, I could probably go do it, but I don't know. I don't know if I have the skills to do that now. Like that was a long time ago. So that was my first year, was really coming from Alaska. It's mostly like I was obsessed with rock climbing in my mid-20s and ice climbing, but there's no ice in Southern California. When I moved to SoCal though, it's like the rock is so much better and there's just routes everywhere. There's guidebooks so you can find routes. In Alaska, we would just be like, well, there's some climbs way back up that canyon, or we just have to hike somewhere. There would be like not very good information. You'd get there and the rock quality wasn't that great. The routes weren't long. Suddenly I'm in California. There's great bolted routes. I can go to Tahquitte's, which is like, 7, 8 pitch routes, some of the best granite in the world, like the birthplace of modern trad climbing. It's like a little Yosemite. So I was just like in heaven, trying to learn how to be a filmmaker, trying to learn how to be a photographer and a storyteller, and then just obsessed with climbing all the time. So this became my social group, my friend group. And honestly, those first couple years, kind of amazing. Like I'm a little bit nostalgic about it now, I guess. It was also very hard. I had very little money. I'm working 2 jobs. I'm barely paying my bills. But it was exciting. It was so exciting. I was so young. I'm going to tell you this one. Should I tell you this story? I guess I should. I kind of mentioned it already. Yeah, I should tell this story. I'm working at the House of Blues. Yeah, this is for the diehards. You guys have committed to these. You've said you like them. Yeah, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Working at the House of Blues. This is like July or August. Literally, it's like towards the end of my tenure there. And I was friends with the guys that worked in production that did the sound and loaded in the bands and all that stuff. And they would tell me things. Well, one of the dudes, one of the managers, one of the lead production guys, he goes, dude, we're having a Miller blind date next week. I'm like, okay. Now this is back late 90s, early 2000s. They had these things called Miller blind date where they would have these radio competitions, all contests all over the country. You could call in. If you were a winner, then they would like fly you to some city. You didn't know what city it was going to be, and you would see a band. You didn't even know who the band was going to be until they came on stage. So basically they would have these shows like once a month somewhere in the country. They'd bring in a few hundred people in a small venue and they would get a surprise concert. Well, they had one at the House of Blues while I was there, and it was going to be Metallica. This is 2000. Jason Newsted's still in the band. Metallica's a huge band. I mean, they've kind of waned a little bit in popularity since the early 90s, but it's still freaking Metallica in a room with only several hundred people. And I knew about it a week ahead of time. It was so top secret that nobody was supposed to know, right? So, but one of the production guys told me. So then I went to my boss, who was in charge of security. Now, I was supposed to work upstairs in the VIP room, and this show was going to happen on my day off. So I go to my boss and I'm like, hey, I know what's happening next week on my day off. I think you could use the help with security down in the club because I just wanted to see Metallica in a small club. Like, how awesome is that? I wasn't even a massive Metallica fan, but just like to see a band of that scale in a small room, kind of dope. Like, why don't you want to do that? Why wouldn't you want to do that? This blood orange IPA is freaking on point, yo. So the show comes, it's the night of the show. Now I've been working in the VIP room, okay? I don't work down in the club anymore. I used to when I first started working there, but like now tonight for Metallica, I'm just got on like a regular old shirt. I don't have a suit and a jacket. I'm like down with the riffraff in the club, right? Well, right away, all these people have flown in. They're staying at the hotel across the street, the Hyatt House, which is a famous rock and roll hotel. They get like free Miller beer all night. It's like, how dope would that be? You're like from Cincinnati or you're from like Albuquerque and you win this contest and they fly you to LA to see some band. You don't even know who it is. So it's like an hour before the show. Everybody's starting to show up. A lot of people are already half lit because they're getting free Miller beer all night. There's this one guy. Now the parking lot, you pull in the parking lot and it comes down and then it snakes down like another level. And so if you're up here, well, it U's down. There's like a lip and it's like a 20-foot drop onto concrete into the lower level of the parking lot. And there's just like a short retaining wall, like a wall that's like maybe 3 feet high or something. And then if you're standing on that wall, it's like 20, 25 feet down to concrete. Well, I'm out front, we're kind of managing people. I turn around, there's a dude standing on that wall and he's like, yeah. And my boss is right next to me and he's like, get that guy. So I go over there, I pull the dude down. He's really drunk. Normally if someone's intoxicated, we could send him home, put him in a cab. Well, we can't do that because Miller Beer owns the venue. And we can't kick anybody out because it's a contest. I mean, I guess we could if it was really bad, but we got to have a good reason, right? So My boss is like, keep an eye on that guy. So now that's my job, follow this dude around. So, okay, so I do that. And he goes in the club, they start letting people in the club. On comes Metallica, it's freaking crazy. This dude's walking around, I'm like right in front of the stage, we're up in the balcony. I just follow this dude for like an hour. Finally, I realize he's pretty harmless. I just peel off, I'm elsewhere. The show ends, it's freaking packed. Now, upstairs where I usually work, the VIP room and the band's green room, what is it? It's packed with celebrities. Bruce Willis is there, Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top, Quentin Tarantino's there holding court with all the Miller girls. Sheryl Crow is there. Sheryl Crow's like this tall. Sweet, very nice. She would come in a lot and like play with different artists. She came in one night and did like half a show with Steve Earle and stuff. Like she's just a music lover as well as being an amazing performer. So everybody liked her. My boss is like, hey, don't let anybody f with Sheryl Crow, so just hang by her, because there was like a lot of riffraff too, and people, a lot of celebrities. So I'm just like, okay, now I'm following Sheryl Crow around, and I'm in the VIP room, and then now it's like, okay, time for the place to close. Quentin leaves with a bunch of girls, and Bruce Willis leaves, and Billy Gibbons leaves. I was friends with Billy Gibbons a little bit because he would come in a lot, and I knew him, so I'm like high-fiving him, which is cool. Sheryl Crow leaves. Now we're just waiting. I'm like right there, Metallica's there. I'm like, I remember standing next to Jason Newsted. This is actually literally, I think less than a year before he quit the band. And he was bitching about people smoking indoors or something. I just remember that. I remember standing right next to him and he was complaining about cigarette smoke. I'm a big Jason Newsted fan, by the way. That dude's a ripping bass player. I saw the movies. I don't think the band did him right, but I hope he's doing well. He's probably got a lot of money. Anyways, whatever, that's not what this is about. The last person there is James Hetfield. And he's like in the band's dressing room. I think there's some other celebrities in there. I don't know. Finally, we're just waiting. And then everybody's cleared out of the club. I'm one of the last people. It's me, my boss, a couple of the security guards. Almost everybody's gone. We're just waiting for James Hetfield, the singer of Metallica, to leave. And finally, he leaves. We kind of escort him out. He gets in, I don't know, some kind of SUV and leaves or something. And now we're like, the night's over. It's like freaking 3 a.m. or something. We're exhausted. We've been on our feet for like 10 hours, haven't stopped, haven't had a break, haven't had anything to eat. What we would do at the end of the night, usually when the band's left, is go raid the dressing room. And I can say this now. I mean, I haven't had that job in over 20, 25 years or something. But, you know, sometimes there'd be like alcohol in there. So you want a beer at the end of the night, you could go to the fridge, there'd be beer in there. Sometimes I would take a bottle home. There'd be like bottles in there that weren't touched or whatever. There'd be food in there that like was uneaten. So whatever, if it, you know, so we're starved. I walked in, there's this big bowl of tortilla chips. I remember taking a big handful of tortilla chips, stepping out. Me and my boss, we step out onto Sunset Boulevard, and there's like a porch there. And then there's Sunset, and across the street is the hotel. And we step out there, and I'm eating these chips. I remember it. They're like the red and black tortilla chips, and I'm like hungry. All of a sudden, we hear people across the street screaming. We look over, and there's a crowd gathering. So okay, boom. It's me, my boss, and one other security guard, this big guy, Brian, huge guy. Across the street, and there's a dude laying in front of the front door of the hotel, the Hyatt. And he looks normal. His head's turned to the side. He's not breathing. And then you can see one arm is like, it's got like more bends in it than it should. And then you just know when somebody's dead. He's dead. And this is the dude that I had followed around earlier that had been standing on the railing. So now he's dead at our feet. What had happened, I guess, is he was pretty drunk and he was up like on the 7th or 8th floor and he leaned out to talk to someone at the railing above him and fell to his death. And it was wild. Someone was screaming, do CPR, do this. He was very dead. An ambulance came in like a minute. They walked over, they looked at him and put a blanket on him and then put him on a gurney and took him away. And we just crossed the street and went home. I walked a couple blocks back to where I was parked. But it was heavy, man. It was heavy just to like follow that dude around in the club for an hour. And he's partying, he's having a great time, he's won this contest, and now he's dead. And I don't know if anybody knew about, like, I don't know, I never saw any news reports or anything. I'm pretty sure the band never knew about it or anything. That's fine. They're not responsible for this guy. It's just a tragic accident, you know. But I was just like, my takeaway was like, man, I don't want to die because I'm too drunk. I say this as I'm drinking a beer. How ironic and hypocritical is that? But man, that was wild. That was wild. That was the first dead person I ever saw, and I've seen a lot since, a lot, especially in my job and my work. There's a video coming up about that. So a couple months later, it was weird. It was very exciting working at the House of Blues and doing all this climbing, but I started to feel like you get this sense of like, this isn't going to last. This experience, this little chapter is coming to an end. And almost exactly 1 year from when I arrived in Los Angeles, my chapter at the House of Blues ends, and I go on to work crazily on a $115 million epic war movie. I'm going to tell that story in the next chapter. I'm going to get another beer, and I'm going to continue right now so that I can just pick it up right where I left off. Thanks for watching. See you soon.